Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. It's an honor to be with you. I'm very excited. I want to go to work for you. I like to work. And this is going to be a big work effort turning our state around. We're a mess. You guys know it. We're the worst run state in America. We are in deep, deep trouble. And we can't just nibble around the edges and veto a couple bills and wave in a couple parades. We got to do a major restructuring. And that's why I decided to run, because I love Illinois. I love Illinois. I was born and raised here, raised our 6 kids here. I built businesses here. And I never want my family to have to move to get a better life, and I don't want any of your kids to have to move to get a better life. I want a great life for all families here in Illinois, because I love it here. And the government in Springfield, it's not working for you. It's not working for any family in Illinois. They're working for special interests and lobbyists and corrupt politicians running the process for their own benefit, not for your benefit. And I'm sick and tired of it. I just won't take it anymore. My businesses that I've helped build and my friends, many of my friends, are leaving the state. They're leaving. They're going to other states where there's more opportunity. They're moving to Indiana, they're moving to Wisconsin, moving to Tennessee, moving to Texas. A lot of my friends said to me, Bruce, come on, come with us, leave. And I said, heck no, I am not leaving Illinois. I will fight with everything I've got to restore the prosperity here in Illinois. And that's the reason I decided to run. We had a big fight in my family 2 years ago whether I should go through this. All 6 of the kids around the dinner table with my wife and me. Oh, should Dad do it? Oh, it's going to be rough. Knife in the back, mud in the face. My youngest daughter said, Daddy, don't run for governor. I don't want you to go to jail. Is that a sad comment? I said, Katie, it's worse than you think. We've got 2 governors in prison. We've got our current governor under federal investigation for corruption. We've had 4 out of our last 8 governors go to jail. Come on. It's disgusting. We have the best people in America. We have the most fertile farms in America. We have the best location. We are the capital heart of America. We should be thriving. We have every reason to thrive, and yet we're suffering. High unemployment, high taxes, high crime, deteriorating schools, shredding social services. And we're going to turn it around. I'm going to focus on the jobs and economic climate. I'm going to reduce the tax burden by making the government efficient. We're going to invest in education so we have world-class schools in every school district, including bringing back vocational training, job training back into our public high schools, and put term limits on the politicians so they can't stay in office for 20, 30, 40 years making money from their political power. That's the focus, and that's what I want to get done. And we'll do it with your help. If it weren't for you guys, Illinois would be lost. Farmers, farm families are the backbone of Illinois. We would be lost without farmers. There's no more important sector of our life, our community, our economy than farming. It's number one by far. What do we have? 80% of our land's devoted to farming. We have over 75,000 farms. We're number 1 in soybeans, number 2 in corn, number 4 in hogs, over $8 billion in exports. You're driving our economy. We would be lost without you guys. Thank you. God bless you for what you do. I wanted to be an ally and an advocate for you. You know, I got my values from my grandfather. My grandparents were dairy farmers, corn farmers, lived in a little double-wide trailer, mostly outside of Whitewater, Wisconsin. My grandfather was the kind of guy who'd put $3 in a collection plate on Sunday morning, every Sunday morning, even when sometimes $3 was a little painful to part with. But he taught me 3 things in life. He said, Bruce, always work your hardest, work your tail off, whatever you choose to do in life, get a great education, and give back in your community. We all have a duty to help each other. We don't help each other through big government bureaucracy. We help each other through our families helping each other and our community organizations and our church groups helping each other. That's the way to do it. And that's the way I've just tried to live my life. My wife and I are very involved. We donate with our resources and time. Churches, schools, libraries, YMCA, Red Cross. Education's a passion for us. I do a lot of education support, teacher training, principal development. Education's the most important thing we do together as a community. And this is my chance to give back. This is my chance to give back. I'm not going to take a salary. I can afford not to, and I would rather taxpayers keep that money. I'm not going to take a pension. I can afford not to. I'd rather taxpayers keep that money. And I'm going to do something really strange. I'm actually going to move to Springfield and live in the governor's residence. That hadn't happened. That hadn't happened in a long time. Now, some of you guys who know contractors got to help me. We've got to fix the roof and pump out the basement. Because our current governor takes care of our governor's residence, so he takes care of our economy. Just let it get destroyed. And you know what? That house belongs to us. We own that house. We bought it, we paid for it, and it should be shown respect, it should be taken care of, and the government should be run from there. That's the state capital. And I'm going to change that culture there in a big way. We're going to change it very dramatically. So I'm excited. Listen, you guys are suffering from the bad policies. We have got to keep the tax burden moderate. Whether it's our estate tax, which is too high, it's killing farm families, it's killing all families. The estate tax is too high. Property taxes are too high, we should freeze them. We should invest heavily in education, Make sure every school district, not just some, not just the big ones or not just the wealthiest ones, but every school district gets proper support. And we bring technology into the schools so we can do digital learning for the small school districts that need access to good quality courses. And we should bring back vocational training and job training. Critical thing to restoring our economy, especially our farm economy, is our regulations. Our regulatory burden in this state is stunning. And there's a mindset in Springfield that business owners are the enemy, that they are undertaxed and underregulated. And nothing could be further from the truth. We have got to make, I believe in some regulations. We should have common sense regulations, but I'm a free market conservative guy, and I believe the market should take care of things, generally speaking. And we need to get a balance. Today we've lost our balance. We have a regulatory apparatus in Springfield that's used for political purposes, not really to provide a good environment for farm families and all businesses to flourish. And I'm going to do something. I'm going to change that culture there in the government. Our government is not well run. It's full of cronyism and patronage and incompetence and mismanagement. And the Department of Agriculture is a classic case, as is the Department of Transportation, as is the Department of Natural Resources. We've got folks running things that generally don't have much expertise in the areas that they're asked to oversee. And there's a mindset that really, they're there for campaign work and patronage, not to do a good job working for you. I'm going to make sure that we have farmers and farm experts running our Department of Agriculture, and that department is there as an ally and an advocate so farmers can grow and expand. And I'll work my fanny off for you to expand export opportunities. I've been a business traveler, business dealer my whole life. I'm going to expand export markets for farm families in Illinois to levels I hope that have never been seen before. And I'm going to work as an ally and advocate for you. We're going to change that culture in a major way. We also need to have more investment in infrastructure. Our infrastructure is deteriorating. We've got a massive economic crisis brewing with our roads, bridges, locks, dams, canals. We can't get our product to our storage facilities or out to the end markets with the way our infrastructure is going. We've got to invest, and we shouldn't just do it where we do nothing for years and then all of a sudden do a big borrowing program and hurry and overspend and do things sloppy. We should have billions of dollars every year as part of our budget process, year in, year out, maintain and expand our infrastructure. Critically important to the success of our economy. I also like to see entrepreneurial opportunities coming in the agriculture sector. We can do more in tourism. We can do more in farm to market, fresh farm produce opportunities, I think, around the state. It's critical that we make sure we stay diversified as a state. One of the concerns I have, I'm a professional investor. One of my concerns is I don't want to see farm families in Illinois all in for any one thing, only corn or only soy. Because you know what? Things could go against us. And I believe we should have a diverse economy and make sure that farm families aren't caught up short. And we have a diverse economy where farmers have many opportunities to keep their incomes high and strong and keep their revenue strong. And I want to work together as an ally and an advocate for you to make sure that happens and solve problems working together. Our problems are big. They're not going to get solved overnight, but if we have a good communication and a good dialogue and we're working together, we will get a thriving economy. Farmers will be healthy and booming, farm families, but we can turn our state around so we're fundamentally prosperous again. You know what? We've had one-party rule in Illinois for 12 years, and we are suffering as a result. And we have got to change that. Democracy doesn't work on a one-party basis. We need to become a two-party state again. It's critically important. And you know, you guys know, you leave one crop in the field for too long, deterioration. Productivity goes down, land ultimately gets damaged. One crop stays in the field for a long time. We've had one crop in Springfield a long time. We got to rotate our crops. And we got to change things in a big way down there. So I'm excited to go to work for you. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Let me remind you, if you have a question, we have staff members along the outside. You get a card from them and get it back to them, and we'll present that to the candidates. First question, Bruce, is with the current court rulings dealing with pension reform, what does Illinois need to do to address the pension problems today?
Yeah, I'm not a lawyer. We'll have to wait and see what the Supreme Court ultimately decides on the pension reforms that were put through last November. My own guess is they're going to be found to be unconstitutional. And the reality is, I don't know how you change the deal on a retiree after the fact. I just don't. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. What I believe we can do and must do is change the prospective pension deal. That we can do. It's fair and it's affordable, and that's where our current governor has completely failed. He could have and should have led this process years ago. The governor's job is to handle the contract negotiations with the employee groups, and we've got to change the future deal going forward. We can freeze the current plan, protect the benefits that have been accrued, but for the future work, we should create a second pension plan that's more of a defined contribution plan, more of a 401k style plan. That's what the voters have in their lives. That's what I think probably most of you and your folks have. And that can save a lot of money in the future, and we can begin to save money and dig out of our old hole that we've created in the old pension system.
Very good. The Illinois Department of Agriculture provides valuable consumer and farmer programs like meat and poultry inspections, environmental and warehouse programs. What are your plans to help make the department more viable and have the dollars available that these programs and the food safety issues are addressed, as well as the weights and measures?
Yeah, it's this is about fundamental good management. The Department of Agriculture has not been well run for quite a while. It's been decimated. A lot of the folks with deep expertise have left. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And a lot of them have been replaced by folks who are there for other reasons. And we got to change that. And I want to work very closely with you to get recommendations on who we should bring into the administration, who should be brought into the Department of Agriculture. And I want deep expertise, and I want science-based decision making based upon the facts and science, not upon the latest political fad or trend. And I want the Agriculture Department working as a partner in good communication, as an ally to solve problems, get things done, and enhance the economy in the agriculture sector. And it's all about leadership and bringing in talented people who are there for the right reasons.
Thank you. We have potentially a very large corn and soybean crop this year. Livestock continues to be a major market for our grain. As governor, what will you do to support the livestock industry and growth of the livestock industry here in the state of Illinois?
I believe that the livestock industry is a very important part of our economy, very critical, important part of our agriculture sector. My family, my aunt and uncle were ranchers. I still raise some cattle myself. I understand a bit about it. I believe it's a fundamentally important thing that we do. We're already number 4 in hogs. We were higher before, and we can bring back a lot of our livestock production. It can be a major source of economic growth, tax revenue generation, job creation. There are pluses and minuses. There are some environmental issues. There's some regulatory issues that we need to deal with. But we can be thoughtful and thorough, and we can be prudent and still grow our livestock sector. I believe that very strongly. You just look at the other states around us, the well-run states around us. Look what they do. We can do the same. In the long run, we can beat the other states around us in agriculture and every sector because we have the location, we have the farm quality, we have the people. But we've got to steal some of their good ideas and enhance them from here so we're more competitive. It's very doable, but we need to bring a balanced approach back into our government.
Thank you. The infrastructure is very important to both the livestock and the cropping sectors, as well as business and commerce throughout the state of Illinois. What are your ideas to upgrade our local roads and provide a reliable access of goods and services can meet the end result of their goal, whether it's for export or to manufacturing in the urban areas or wherever?
Yep. The only thing that comes after education in my book for priority of taxpayer dollars is infrastructure. Education, infrastructure. We have not kept that as a core part of our budget every year in, year out. We've siphoned money out of the road fund, money out of special purpose funds, and diverted it away and put it into other uses, other special favorite pet projects and cronyism that our current government likes to do. We can invest in infrastructure. If we prioritize it and make it an annual part of what we do, we can bring our infrastructure back up to a high quality base. And where we're short of money, I believe we can borrow occasionally for certain projects where there's a 30-year payback. We can put 30-year money on it. But I also believe we can creatively form public-private partnerships occasionally to put in new infrastructure, where we don't have the money just on a standalone basis as a government. I believe we, on a limited basis in a certain way for some projects, we can do public-private partnerships as well. We can arrange the capital, but we got to manage the process so it's efficient, effective, and be responsible about it. Long run, we have got to have world-class infrastructure. Roads, bridges, locks, dams, canals, airport, you name it, rail. We need world-class infrastructure if we're going to be a world-class growth economy. We can't shrink away and nickel and dime it. We've got to invest.
Very good. You just mentioned education. How do we provide more resources for education while freezing property taxes and the state of our current budget deficit? How do we get more dollars down to the schools?
We are a wealthy state. Now, we're frittering our wealth away, but we're still a pretty wealthy state. And if we decide that education is our priority, the money is there to invest in education. And I believe today, I think we're 48th out of 50 states on state level support for education. We're at the bottom of the 50 states. There's no reason we should stay at the bottom. We can say, it's true. It's our kids' future. It's our kids' future. And when you look at virtually every challenge we have, unemployment, low wages, lack of competitiveness, lack of growth, high crime, whatever poverty, whatever challenge you want to say we face as a society, as a state, education may be not the sole answer to the problem, but it's a key major building block of the answer to our challenges. And we can make education a top priority. We'll have the money. I will commit to making sure the money is there for schooling and education. And whether the smaller school districts around the state that can't afford to have the full course offerings, we can bring more technology into play and more digital learning so we can offer greater courses for some of our smaller school districts, and we can bring in more general state support for education. And we really do have to look at our education funding formula for the state. Our education funding formula, I think, is broken. I think it has a lot of favoritism, a lot of special deals in it. It's very murky. It's not really a transparent process. I believe we should make it transparent and revise it so there's more equitable funding of schools all across the state. And we have the goal has got to be world-class schools in every school district, not just in some school district. It's our kids' future. There's nothing really more important than that. We need great schools everywhere.
Shifting gears just a little bit, you mentioned earlier about increasing exports and how important that is to Illinois economy. What is your position on exports to Cuba, being only 90 miles off of our southern shores, and engaging with the Cuban government or providing other opportunities to get Illinois goods and products into the Cuban market?
Right. Cuba has potential to be a huge export market for us. Obviously, that takes a lot of federal government, involvement and control. The one thing I can promise you is that I will be an advocate for export for agriculture products from Illinois, a big advocate. And I want to open markets everywhere I can possibly can. It's critical for our economic growth. It's critical for our diversification of our agriculture economy. Now, I can't make promises on Cuba. And I don't, I'm a limited government guy. I don't like communist governments, and there's a lot of issues around that. So I've got to say that that's probably going to be more a federal issue than what I can do as governor. But one way or another, I will push every opportunity I can to expand exports for Illinois farmers around the world.
Very good. What is your position and your views on ethanol fuels, biodiesels, E15, and higher blends? And bonus topic, is your bus using biodiesel fuels? That's
a good bonus question. I'm not sure I don't think it is. Not that I've been told. We'd have to find out. I'll have to check on that. I don't want to give an answer that's wrong. Here's the bottom line for me. I want America to be as energy independent as we can possibly be, and I want as much diversification and consumer choice as we can possibly have. That's just, those are guiding principles for me. So biofuels, terrific. Ethanol, terrific. Renewable energy sources, terrific. Oil, natural gas, hydraulic fracturing should all be part of our process of making America energy independent and providing choice and diversification for consumers and for our economy. And I'm all in for every type of energy development we can realistically develop. And ethanol is a key, major part of that.
Good. With you as governor and the possibility of both the House and the Senate controlled by the Democrat Party, how will you work with leadership to move your agenda forward and work with those across the aisle?
Well, I'll start off and say I couldn't do much worse than the last handful of years. Look, I'm a Republican. I believe in limited government, low taxes, and individual liberty and personal responsibility. But I've also been a bipartisan problem solver my whole life. And we got into this mess on a bipartisan basis. We got to get out of it on a bipartisan basis. And I will work with both sides of the aisle to solve problems and get things done. And I am in the middle of the process of getting to know every member of the General Assembly on a personal basis. I'm going to get to know every one of them because I'm going to have to arm twist and cajole and work to get legislation done, and I will do that. And every day that the General Assembly is in session, I'll be down there on the floor working it hard. I think this policy we've had for years of, the governor winging in a phone call and making a threat and showing up occasionally now and then, that doesn't get stuff done. That's not how you solve problems. That's not how you come together to get things done. I'll work with both sides. And I'll tell you, as I've been talking to folks in the General Assembly, Democrats as well as Republicans, many Democrats have said, Bruce, we need a leader like you down here. We need a leader who gets things done and who isn't afraid to take the arrows. Because we are not going to take the arrows. And you know what? You know what? And I say, you know what? I'm all in for arrows. I'll take arrows. I got alligator skin. And I don't need a job. And I ain't worrying about getting reelected. I didn't take this job to kind of wave at a few parades and veto a couple bills. We got to get major stuff done. And I'll be in there working hard with the General Assembly every day. I've already proven my ability to work with some of the mayors in Chicago. I don't agree with them on many things, most things. But you know what? Chicago is in financial deep distress, needs pension reform, needs better schools, and needs a better business climate. Okay, we agree on three things. Let's work together to solve problems. And I help the mayors. They asked me to take on McCormick Place. McCormick Place is a mess. We as taxpayers in Illinois, we have $4 billion invested in McCormick Place. It was going dark because the cost structure, the work rules were killing us. And they sent me in there because they know I'm not afraid. And I helped lead that board, on the interim board, to change that process. And then they asked me, they said, great job, help take over the tourism bureau in Chicago because Chicago is losing huge tourist opportunities. Chicago is performing way, way under its weight on tourism. You know what? I did that for 3 years. New staff, new board, new marketing plan, new strategy. And you know what? Chicago today is one of the fastest growing tourist destinations in the United States. I'll work with folks on both sides of the aisle to get things done. And folks down there in Springfield know that I've been working for the taxpayers in Illinois, and I've been working for the teachers and state troopers and corrections officers in Illinois for 32 years. Because I've been managing pension money in my business. I invest pension money as my primary source of assets in my old firm. And we did a terrific job. We generated almost 20% compound annually for 32 years. Well over double the stock market. And we made a better retirement. We created successful businesses. We made a better retirement for teachers in Illinois, state troopers in Illinois, corrections officers in Illinois. And we saved hundreds of millions of dollars for taxpayers in Illinois and around America because we did so much better than what the pensions were doing on their own. I get stuff done. I assemble talented teams of people. I'll work with both sides of the aisle. We have major problems to fix, and we can't get it done from one party or the other. And the other party knows that they ain't going to fix it alone either. They've had it for 12 years, and they've helped create the problem. And a lot of their members know that. They know that. Democracy works on a bipartisan basis. It doesn't work on a one-party basis.
Thank you. What are the advantages/disadvantages of calling an Illinois Constitutional Convention to rewrite the Constitution with term limits, pension reform, and our campaign finance reform?
Wow, that's that's a big comment, a big topic. There are lots of pros and cons to calling a constitutional convention. It can open up a whole set of issues that, to some degree maybe are better left unopened. The one thing I can say is two things are critical. Number one, and by far the most important, we've got to get term limits in place. Term limits are important to end this career money-making, politics as the family business. Politics should be a public service, should serve for a few years and leave office. When George Washington founded America, he could have been president for life. In fact, many Americans wanted George Washington to be king. He said, no, I'll work for, he controlled the military. He was hugely popular. He could have spent his whole life, he could have died in office, however long he lived, and he could have done pretty much what he wanted. He said, no, I'll be a public servant. I'll work for the people of America for 8 years and leave. And he did that voluntarily. And we need that mindset in Springfield. You know what? The damage that a bad political office holder can do through the power of the incumbency and locking themselves in is far more damaging than a good person can do, and who might have to leave office. You know what? We'll lose a few good people in one office, but there's plenty of offices people can run for. People don't have to stay in the same office for decades. We can get term limits done, and we can get redistricting reform done so the politicians aren't picking their voters, the voters are picking their politicians. We can really change that culture. They wouldn't let me run the redistricting and reform process because we could have collected the signatures. We would have collected the signatures. They wouldn't let us do it because I'm a Republican, they wanted it bipartisan. Well, you see they couldn't even get the signatures. In fact, they sent in tens of thousands of signatures from non-registered voters. I mean, come on, they weren't serious. They weren't serious about that process. And here's the frustration. And this is not we're lost in court. The Supreme Court refused to hear our term limits petitions review. That's horrible travesty, I think, of justice. But they wouldn't review it. So now it's not going to be on the ballot. But if we elect officials who truly believe in term limits, as I do, I will term limit myself at 8 years. Pat Quinn used to say when he was running for office, he used to say he supported term limits. Where has he been for? He's gone radio silent and opposed this term limits initiative. He's been a phony on term limits, just like many other things. If he were to serve another term, he'd be 10 years in office. And here's the critical thing: the reasons we got challenged in court, those reasons go away or would go away if the General Assembly passed a term limits referendum, and then it would go on the ballot. If the General Assembly would do it and the governor would advocate for it, it would go on there, and the challenges for the court, the basis for the court challenge would go away. The structural and procedural change requirement that if the voters do it themselves gets put in place. So if we elect officials who support term limits, truly support them, we can change this. And I will work hard this cycle and every cycle going forward to support term limits candidates who support it, and I'll also drive a process next cycle to get redistricting reform done. If we can get those two things, we will really change that culture in Springfield.
Thank you. Currently, the state has a law in place that addresses hydraulic fracturing for oil. However, the rules implementing hydraulic fracturing have not been released. What are your plans for getting this economic opportunity moving?
I am a believer that we have a very significant economic opportunity in hydraulic fracturing. Hydraulic fracturing has been done in America since, I think, the 1940s, maybe earlier. It can be done safe and responsibly, and can also be done aggressively. And right now, the bureaucracy is holding up the process. I believe we can get those rules released and we can begin to go forward. Huge economic growth opportunity, huge tax revenue generation opportunity, huge job creation opportunity to do aggressive but thoughtful, careful hydraulic fracturing process in Illinois. There's a big opportunity there that I'd like to see Illinois take advantage of.
Very good. How can business and farms be passed on to the next generation with Illinois estate tax law the way it currently is?
Yeah, that's 100% correct. Illinois' estate tax law is not competitive. It's driving successful families out of Illinois. It's driving retirees out of Illinois, and it's unreasonably hurting farm families in Illinois. I believe we should modify the estate tax and reduce that tax burden. But I believe we should have an overall overhaul of our tax code. Reduce the overall tax burden, broaden the base, and what we should do is look at the other well-run states. Look at what they tax, what they don't tax, how they structure it, steal their best ideas, because it's all about being competitive. We have got to be competitive as a state, and today we're not competitive. That's the reason we're doing so badly. We've got to overhaul, we should roll back the Quinn-Madigan income tax hike. We should freeze our property taxes and keep them low, give local voters more control. We can broaden some of the sales tax on services in Illinois. Most well-run states tax some business services. We do none in Illinois. I do not favor putting sales tax on any farm inputs. Other states don't tax farm inputs. We should not tax those here. We have got to compete with other states. We should look at what other states do, steal their best ideas, and make ourselves competitive. That's the critical goal for this process.
Thank you. How do you believe that there are a large number of local government units within the state?
Yeah.
How often This often creates many different local ordinances and challenges. How can the state and local governments work more together to promote business and industry and education and infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera?
Great question. We have 7,000 units of government in Illinois, 2,000 more than the number 2 state, and double the average state. There's no good reason for that. And one of the things, and I've said it from day one in this race, this is about leadership and good management. What I want to do is very quickly, after winning this race, I want to form a task force of some of the smartest, most creative mayors from around the state of Illinois, county chairmen from around Illinois, and school superintendents from around Illinois. Form a task force with a goal of streamlining the layer cakes of government in this state. Because we have regulations imposed from the state level onto our local governments that forces them to spend money that they shouldn't ought to have to spend. Likewise, we have decisions being made at the local level that is forcing state taxpayers to spend more money, and we've got to rationalize that process. And we can do that if we work together cooperatively, because right now, if we all go our separate directions, state one way, cities another way, counties another way, school districts another way, the problems don't get fixed. In fact, they exacerbate each other. The level of unfunded mandates in Illinois is stunning. The level of regulation from one level that impacts the spending at another level is out of control, and we've got to rationalize that. Won't get done quickly, but I think within a year of working that process, we can come up with a major overhaul of the system, make it much more rational and efficient.
I'm out of questions, Bruce. Any closing comments?
I just appreciate your time. God bless you. Thank you for being farmers in Illinois. I look forward to going to work for you. I apologize right now. You're going to see my face on television far more than you ever wanted to see it. But this is going to be, as my wife likes to remind folks, I've got a great voice for radio. But I have a face for radio too. And I apologize. You're going to see my face out there a lot. But we've got to get our message out there. Please ask your friends to vote. Remind your friends to vote. Democracy doesn't work when voters stay home. Hundreds of thousands of voters in Illinois don't vote in non-presidential elections. It's a tragedy. We have got to vote. It's our democratic duty. It's critically important. I'm excited. I'm a workaholic. I'm all in for you guys. I love you know what? I've never run for office. I've never done this. I didn't know what to expect. Everybody said I was going to hate it. It's terrific. I mean, the people of this state are great. We've put about 140,000 miles driving Illinois. I did 15 parades over the 4th of July weekend. I did 7 parades on the 4th of July itself. And I shake everybody's hand. I don't walk in the middle going like this. I get right out there in the crowds and shake everybody's hand. The people are fantastic. And I want to work for every family here. I want to go to work for you. I want to be a problem solver. If we have good communication and good dialogue, we're going to figure out our problems together and get going in the right direction again. So I want to go to work for you. Please get out and vote. Tell your friends to vote. Thank you. God bless you. We'll see you.
You're watching the Illinois Channel, an independent nonprofit corporation formed to provide gavel-to-gavel coverage of Illinois state government and other public affairs events taking place across Illinois.